draft here in game number 1. Big bans that I'm kind of looking towards is to this top lane. With Gwen taken off, Rumble starts to become very popular, and even things like the Sion potentially here coming in for Breathe.
And that's the tax they have to pay on red side. You have to ban away some of the stronger picks here in the top side of the map. Will be the Nefiri lock-in. Now, of course, WE, they banned away that Vi. That's been one of the bigger counter picks into the Nefiri that we've seen. Things like the Xin Zhao also can be pretty good, and that's something that Monki has played a decent amount of. But it looks like Comfort going to be here for WE. They're going to lock in their bot lane first with the Kaisa and the Nico. The Nico specifically has been heavy prio for Vampire.
Huh. Okay, so maybe they're just expecting that they're going to be playing into like a Misfortune lane, or they want some kind of priority. Kind of interesting to see that that has been the case here, or that is going to be the case here for WE. I don't necessarily like it, especially because you haven't seen all that much. I would have maybe even preferred to see Karis and picking up Talia versus what they've shown. Weibo, however, have to expect this is going to be a rise. We already said that Xiaohu has been a lot better on champions that can kind of cheat map priority. And when we talk about being able to be paired up with Nefiri, she loves having champions that give her point-and-click CC that allow for her to land all of those Dark and Daggers.
Yeah, but instead it looks like it's going to be that Xayah. Still opportunities for some of those globals to be selected. I like the Yorick early here for Weibo because some of the bigger piece champs that are high prio in the meta right now, like Jace and Sion specifically, don't do super well into this Yorick. And so for Breathe, he'll have himself at least an easy later stage of the game when he's going to have like that side laning all to himself. It will just be team fighting that W are going to be playing for with the Sion. They're going to try to scale into that 5v5 as we head into the second phase of bans, and actually have a couple of disparities across the map in terms of where champions have already been selected, but both teams still looking for a mid laner to see the Orianna taken away from Xiaohu.
Okay, so WE are really trying to buy a lot of time in frontline with this Kaisa. Trying to see, we're probably going to be getting on-hit Kaisa with where that is starting to trend. And for Weibo, they're going to try to put a lot of priority on making sure that they're receiving a lot of the damage. I'm a little worried about what this mid lane matchup can be. Sion typically doesn't do very well into the Yorick, especially as the game goes on. So getting 6 Grubs will be a pretty big win condition here for Weibo if they want to be able to impact them, as WA I think have just a stronger first punch when we talk about team fighting around objectives.
Yeah, and especially if you compare that Yorick alongside something like the Rise, it would be big. Now WE banned away the Talia and the Orianna, who have been 2 of Xiaohu's picks, and smart of them to take that Rise away because if he didn't select, if Karis didn't pick it here on R4, Xiaohu absolutely would have picked it up here in that second half of the draft.
All right, Rise, very good takeaway. Could be thinking about an Ahri, but Ahri isn't very great into trying to deal with this. You're going to be, kind of trying to slip underneath the Rise in terms of damage. Maybe you go for Victor if you want early lane prowess here, and we have seen Xiaohu kind of been able to pilot the champion before. They definitely need some kind of AP damage, so could be that or the Aurora if they're focused on trying to win early game, make sure that they have priority. And with how short range WE is looking, I wouldn't necessarily hate it. We're going for the Ahri instead, so pretty mobile jungle 2v2 here coming in for Weibo.
And now we're looking for Monki. He's been a big difference maker in the pick ban and in the games here for WE. Has a couple of things up his sleeve, but it looks like it's going to be the Pantheon. Slightly off the beaten path, especially recently. It's been more of a high prio pick earlier on in the season, but will be the final selection here for WE. They have a lot of semi-global ultimates, a lot of long-range tools that they can use at their disposal, whether it's the Sion ultimate, the Pantheon ultimate, the Realm Warp, and then of course Taeyoon on the Kaisa being able to jump in at a moment's notice as well.
Yeah, for Weibo here, I'm looking at how they use specific tools for Tian. It's his call of the pack, the ability just to be untargetable. Same thing with Light. If they can dodge out on some of the range, they can force WE into some uncomfortable positions. They are very, very low ranged. And like you said, if they can get into a side lane, then they can have those numbers advantage. But I'm merely just worried about the fact here for WE that they're not going to really be able to push lanes very easily with their AD carry. You're playing Kaisa into Xayah, so you're kind of losing that trade there. Your ability to trade in the solo lanes isn't that great either. So it kind of feels like they either have to really prioritize taking those grubs away so that this Rise is powerful, or getting dragons early on, and that hasn't necessarily been the strength of WE so far. It has been early game skirmishing, fighting right around some of these objectives, and trying to catch their opponents off guard.
Yeah, and for W, if they don't get some of those early advantages and still try to side lane with the Yorick and the Rise, W have a lot of tools to kind of collapse upon any of these side laners and make it an uneven fight as soon as possible with some of those long range, some of those semi-globals that we were talking about. Again, WE, the underdogs, as they have been in almost every single series so far that they've played in Group Ascend, but always have played that upset factor just a little bit. They've taken games against the top teams in the LPL. They finally won their first series here in Split 2 of the LPL. Now, can they do it against a top team or somebody striving to be a top team here in Weibo Gaming? Getting ready, loading onto the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3.
Okay. We're in the home arena here for WE. We're over in Tian, so, you know, not too, the crowd wasn't too loud. It has been a rough season for WE fans, so we'll see. Junglers are looking to start on the same side, and I think if this game does go later, Grapes, we do favor Team WE. The problem is that some of their map plays haven't been as clean, and that is where I'm kind of struggling to see if if they can kind of bring this strategy playing up against Weibo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as soon as we get into those later stages. We've got to pause.
Standing around, sometimes he's like, flux, overload, overload, overload. That's it. That's basically the whole kit. EQ. Hey, we got a game! All right, so what can I see? Junglers are starting on opposite sides of the map right now. Neferi heading top doesn't really inspire me with a ton of confidence. Being able to gank a Scion early is not usually the case, and what I want to look out for is Monki, who has been very creative in his early game pathing. Sometimes after level 2, just straight up walking mid and just trying to get the enemy's flash.
Early trading down here between Erha and Light and Taeyoon and Vampire as the dredge line does connect. Yeah, we'll see what the jungler pathing is early on. I feel like with the Neferi, there's a lot of good setup, especially in the bot and the mid lanes for this Neferi to try to get some kills off of an early gank, and we'll see if he decides to complete that full clear, which I feel like is more likely than not, as level 2 is hit first by the W bot lane. Going to send Light and Erha back away.
Yeah. Double range bot lane, it is a luxury that Light and Erha get to hit the wave, especially early on. So, getting some normal trading here. I am looking at our HP bars in the mid lane, and currently Xiaohu has taken a fair bit of damage, already starting to chug through some of those pots, so this was the worry about taking this matchup. You are kind of jeopardizing some of your late game scaling to try to fight underneath where this Rise is powerful. Monki taking a pretty aggressive path. They didn't get any early vision as to where Tian was, and they have to be knowing with this next bottom wave coming in, I mean, Light and Erha need to be kind of locked in and making sure that they're playing on the right timers. They should know that Pantheon is here.
Yeah, he was spotted on a ward, so should know that this is about to happen, but it is a cannon wave they're going to have to push in first. So already Monki losing a lot of time. If this does not go successfully, it means that Tian will have a very, very big advantage in terms of the CS department. They finally do spot out Monki. Light pops the cleanse a little bit earlier, and they're going to try to fight between the turrets instead of underneath it. Okay. And that's actually enough to back away and prevent Monki and the rest of W from completing the dive. It's going to cost them a plate and that entire cannon wave, though, as the teleport does come in early.
Wow. Okay, wait, that gets teleport out from your mid? And then, what, Light, I mean, you're just going to trade this wave? That's just a free wave going over to Karis. I mean, Karis can continue to stay here. He'll probably push. We're under no threat here. I mean, Monki, he still has his entire bottom side camps. Yes, Tian will have a slight advantage, but this is a minor win here for WE. Good job for Monki, being very creative and just causing some chaos on the map.
And was actually able to pick up that second Scuttle Crab on the bottom side as well. So not even an opportunity for Tian to go for a double Scuttle, even though he had a much faster opportunity to go through that first clear. Obviously, it means that these secondary camps are going to cycle through a little bit quicker here for the Neferi, which is always good. But for WE, you're feeling pretty good about how that went, especially because now Light and Erha are pretty behind in this 2v2.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Light picking up a call will try to equalize some of this. It's 300 gold. We'll see how much more he can kind of get back. It is half a level as well in the AD carry position, which usually isn't too impactful, but especially for Xayah, who is very reliant on making sure that her Blade Caller is back up and available. Just things to think about. And if WE are not able to really do much with this early game advantage, obviously we do look at Weibo to, have a pretty sizable means in this early game. Just being able to have full clear Nefiri, recycled those camps like we had mentioned. Very strong point. We already have the mid laners sitting in a side lane, and Monki looking for it though.
Yeah, there comes Monki. A two-man tangle barb from Vampire as well. Forces 2 flashes, or at least light to flash away. And so that's another win here for Monki. Even though he hasn't picked up any kills just yet, having high impact, especially towards getting Taeyoon and Vampire ahead.
One thing that I don't know if I like about that play is that usually supports won't get enough XP in 4.5 minutes time to really get access to their ultimates. So I don't think it'll have a big impact on what could potentially be like our first dragon or even the second Grub spawn here. But does mean it's a little bit more meaningful for any ganks that are found on bottom side. They did trade an equal amount of flashes here from WE, so gonna be pretty interesting to see what happens here. It'll be level 5 for our bot lane duos in WE coming into this top side objective.
And Monki pathing or off of a reset, picking up a tunneler and then heading straight up to the top side of the map as well. We see some resets coming through from the bot lane of WE, as it will be Tian actually there first. However, the rest of his team doesn't really have the timer to follow up on this. So right now, Tian, I think, just trying to pick up one of these grubs, but the collapse is already coming in from Vampire. And now on the top side of the map, Breathe with the flash away from the unstoppable onslaught of Cube. And now it's a really big numbers advantage right now for WE. It's a 4v3 across the map. The first grub was secured by Weibo, but now Karis has come in with the Realm Warp as well. And that's going to force Weibo away from the objective, and WE will get the better end of things here.
Weibo are getting some gold onto Light. I kind of was watching him in the shop there. He bought 2 coals and then immediately had to sell it and go back. But he is pushing this bottom lane wave. If he's able to at least get a turret play for himself, I wouldn't be too mad about that as Weibo. That seemed like a bit of a weird, some whoopsies there from both of our teams. I mean, Monki's entire combo got canceled out by Erha, and with them screening on this bottom side of the map, it's more gold over to Light. It's them being able to protect him as well, and they can even start out this dragon. I think you're not too mad about this if you are on the side of Weibo Gaming. And also minimal damage in the mid lane being done here, as Taeyoon and Vampire will try to crash this, but Xiaohu will be in the area.
It was not the perfect situation of how things unfolded. I think the fact that Light and Erha were both late to that play, and also that Light was not at the play at all, meant that obviously they had to cede that Void Grub control. But it's not all 6 at least going over to WE, although Weibo, remember, we said that being their win condition potentially would to get all 6 of those grubs. So even though that didn't happen, they're still getting resources into places that they want, and right now the gold, still currently is even, so it's still a lot of game left to play.
Karis, you have to know, man. You have to know this is coming. Oh, no, you don't have any wards. Okay, Monki has
6.
ultimate. He is moving. He can move on over.
We'll see if he's there quick enough, as Erha is going to force to that crowd control initially here onto Karis, and then use the dredge line to get away. Here comes Monki as well, but the blade color is beautiful. Combined with the ultimate of Tian, blocks away some of the damage, but is it enough just yet? Monki's bleeding out, but it will not go down. And so WE prevent their mid laner from falling, although they use a lot of resources to make that happen. Now, in the bottom side, Xiaohu tries to go for the charm, but a nicely timed W from Vampire will prevent him from getting crowd controlled up.
All right, Monki takes too much damage. She has to recall, which means Weibo now get access to this dragon. I liked how creative they were, and the just being able to survive for that long was a boon for WE. Rise not having to lose anything, doesn't lose any of his summoner spells, I think is a very important trade. So we can kind of look now at the rest of this map right now. Nefiri has a very minor advantage. Mid lane has a very minor advantage here for WE. It's really just Taeyoon right now who has a CS lead versus this Xayah. And hopefully we can see a little bit more out from Weibo in this early game. Monki is giving no quarter.
Monki does have the smite, Tian does not, but it looks like the red buff not necessarily priority start things off, but then it will be, as that's a nice little steal coming away from Monki, who's having himself a very solid start to this game, as WE keeping things even at the moment, especially through their bot side, as you said.
Hey, look, now we just walk mid. Yeah, point click. Goodbye.
Xiaohu gets crowd control up. He has to flash away. Still has that Spirit Rush available, but does not actually end up having to use it after utilizing that flash. So another summoner spell, another reset forced here for Monki as he continues to farm those up without necessarily picking up a kill.
And now what he can do is he can just finish his entire top side. This will be an advantage going over to Tian with just the fact that he's level 7 already. He's going to also have his top side camps as well, some of his bottom side camps. Monki will end on the bottom side of the map, but should be looking for a recall and then looking to play around the top side. You can already see that WE are moving into position around the second set of grubs. Cube really wants to get his reset in, but for the time being, it looks like Breathe is going to have first access to that recall button. They're already moving Karis over. I mean, he has Realm Warp, he has TP. This makes sense. I actually would like to see Cube TP towards bottom lane and then use his ultimate to move on over, with Weibo already putting Ari in the bottom lane.
That's exactly what he will do. As we're waiting, of course, for the second spawn of Grubs. Weibo would love to pick up all 3 of these, but we'll see just how much priority they do end up having, with Xiaohu stuck in the bottom lane without that teleport, with Cube still having that unstoppable onslaught, as you said, to try and match. So something's got to give a little bit here for Weibo, as the Grubs are about to spawn in less than 10 seconds. And right now, WE have the advantage around going for a play around this top side.
So, as you can see, what's happening is because Taeyoon finished his first item, having access to Static Shiv is going to give him a little bit easier time to be able to wave clear, and so it is easier for WE to push through mid with their double range bottom lane, move into Fog of War, and then play onto this side objective. Vampire trying to block with the clone here. And this seems like it's going to be a pincer for WE. They have the Nico ultimate. Can they find engage on the Weibo?
At this point for Weibo, their goal is to maybe just pick up one, but that's not even going to happen. The Sion ulti has been popped. The Choo-Choo Train comes in, and that will secure all 3 Grubs here for WE. So remember, that was the win condition for Weibo potentially, and now their side lane is going to become a lot harder to deal with.
And we talked about when you have the numbers advantage from draft, that if you get into a side lane and Ryze has 1-2 items, they're getting set up for that. He knows that an enemy mid laner does not have flash, so got to be very careful here as this Ahri. But Pantheon could always come down and help. You can see they're in position. Karis has to be careful.
Yeah, Weibo have to make this play happen quick because they know that reinforcements are on the way, and they will do so successfully as Tian's able to pick up first blood here for Weibo, and Monki not there in time to save his mid laner.
Wow, just missing out on that. Surprised they didn't immediately invest in it, but maybe thinking that Karis kind of died a little too quickly there, so instead of being able to trade, that'll just be the ultimate and the ignite from Urha going down. But as you said, found them that first kill here in this game, and does slow down the game a little bit for them. They won't be able to use those 5 Grubs immediately here. It looks like Monki instead is going to pick up this wave just to make sure it crashes. And we got a minute or 2 before the plates fall, so we'll have to see how much gold WE are able to extract from these turrets in the meantime.
And now for WE, they have the Grub advantage now, which obviously will be helpful. It's a nice little cheeky cancel comes through on to Breathe from Cube. But we need to see them take advantage of it, and that's something that specifically I have my eyes on Monki for, because he's burned a lot of summoner spells. He's forced a lot of pressure. He's gotten Taeyoon ahead right now in the bottom lane, but he hasn't found any kills just yet. And now the Nefiri has, and you can see that Goldie start to swing a little bit more towards the Weibo side because of it. And so now Monki's got to finish off what he started here. Not just take these summoner spells, gain pressure. He's got to find some advantages, help get some kills, get some gold into the rest of his teammates.
Something that we've been seeing as a difference between our top-end teams and our bottom-end teams, as I say that, Light gets caught.
Man. Yeah, Light, he flashes away, but still going to get knocked up here by the Pop Blossom. Vampire going very, very low. I think that was 40 HP that he was taken down to, but he will be able to survive. That is both summoners now away from the Weibo AD carry, with the dragon about to spawn.
As well as the ultimate there. I mean, we'll take that as WE. You're happy with that kind of exchange. Cube, though, no mana to use his ultimate, has the flash available. They're going to be willing to give up this dragon so that they can get maybe 2 or 3 plates. With plates falling down, it could be that Breathe just takes this whole turret.
Yeah, Cube should be dead here as long as nothing gets completely screwed up. Tian goes untargetable, pops the Conqueror, and Breathe will land the final blow. And then it forces WE to now utilize some more resources towards the top side of the map. Erha going to be the sacrificial Nautilus here. Now we can see if the Nefiri and the Yorick will be able to escape. Most notably that Dragon, though, not being taken up. But there's the flash forward from Monki as he finally gets WE on the board with 2 kills.
WE have come to play against Weibo. This is a lot of gold, and that was kind of the reason why we started to see the gold start to swing in favor of Weibo. Xiaohu prioritizing waves on side lane. He's been working at this bottom lane tier 1, and it'll go over to Weibo. So Ahri is starting to get a lot of gold into their back pocket, and we talked about our two mid laners having to have pretty pivotal matchups here between the two of them. We need to see Xiaohu on this Ahri step up and carry his team, which has been a bit of a struggle for one of the best players here in the LPL in 2025.
He teleports up to the top lane to make sure that that tier 1 turret survives, and with very telegraphed play from Weibo overall, obviously setting up for this dive onto Cube. And W had two options. They could either hit the handshake, go for the dragon, or go for the fight, try to punch right back, and they did the latter, and it worked successfully.
Yeah, they gotta, I think the point of this fight is just getting some summoner spells, getting some key ultimates as well. You can see in the minimap, the thing that I'm surprised about is why are we sending Ryze for this play? I know that they are maybe afraid of a teleport coming in from Ahri, but you have a Realm Warp as well. At the very least, have Ryze sit in mid lane. So they wasted a bit of time just to find 2 kills, and it does diminish Taeyoon's gold lead. It kind of accentuates some of Xiaohu's strength so far. So that's what I'm kind of worried about here for WE is, yes, they can play the map, but so far in this game, they haven't necessarily shown the best kind of play and macro on Summoner's Rift so far. And that is going to be really important for them if they want to utilize their strong solo lanes and these 5 grubs that they were able to get for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just gone for the dragon. They will be able to get it right now as Tian was forced off of it because of the better grouping for WE, but it's maybe costing them some other things across the map, as now we see Erha somehow land that hook over the wall. I don't know exactly how that happened, but the 2-man depth charge will come in to boot as well. It forces just a couple of backs away as WE will retreat after evening up that dragon count.
That is the luckiest lollipop of all time for Taeyoon, because even with that, that was a flash coming in from one of the members of Weibo. I mean, they were able to get the top lane tier 1 as well there for WE, and you're pretty happy now. I mean, kind of looking at Karis' inventory, he's already finished the Rod of Ages, getting closer to that Archangel, so once he finishes these 2 items, he's going to be incredibly strong in this matchup, only down about 20 or so CS. Pretty okay if you are looking at this from Karis' POV.
Team WE playing this map out very well, I should say, Alk. I mean, they're actually the ones utilizing that 1-3-1 a little bit more right now by getting Karis that top lane tier 1 turret and getting the dragon as well. So they got a bit of a 2-for-1 special there, as now they're going to try to maybe fight for this Rift Herald, which is now alive on the top side, and Karis has so much priority up here. Nobody is there to try to stop this Ryze, and that means that WE have easy goings of things right now, especially if they want to try to go for a flank. Now, obviously, Tian, I should say, is very strong on this Nefiri and could potentially get in there, but right now, WE are the ones on the pit first.
Okay, so Xiaohu gave up the wave. He took 1 and immediately came back through. Oh, we're just going for this.
Bull sending it here, but it's only onto the Nautilus for now. That E blocks up a ton of damage here as Monki picks up his 3rd kill of the game for Team WE. Now the Realm Warp's going to come out. They're going to pop out some synced up as well, but Tian pops the untargetable and will be able to get away from that ulti. Now Light has a chance to free hit a little bit as Xiaohu becomes a target. He Spirit rushes away. And so just that 1 kill going over to Team WE, but they utilize a ton of ultimates to try and make that play happen.
Very creative coming in, but it ends up being a win here for Weibo. They'll get alone time with this mid-tier 1. They had to sacrifice, like you said, a lot of ultimates, and that was also some key summoner spells, I think. Having the barrier and the heal now missing from our bottom lane of WE, not bad. Weibo will now continue to jockey for position in this river, going back towards this play. WE just some misexecutions there. Erha is back.
Oh, the dredge line does connect, though. Once again, that E from Monki blocking up so much damage that Weibo threw out at the Pantheon. But remember, no more Grand Starfall, no more Realm Warp, no opportunity really to gap close here for WE. So they want to just make sure they push Weibo out of here, maybe be able to start up this objective. They're waiting for Q to teleport in. Arrow, he dredge lines into the wall, and that will spell his doom as Taeyoon will pick up his first kill of the game. Now it is a 4v3 in this top side of the map. Monki throwing out the Comet Spear, forcing Xiao and Tian to half, and that should gain them priority around this Rift Herald pit.
Allegedly. Okay, I'm seeing Tian and Xiaohu take recalls. Surely we don't get a 4th contest for the Herald right now. Oh my god, we're getting more. It's Tian wants to look for it. He has Call of the Pact, but we're getting ultimates start to come on through. Vampires, most importantly, as this Nico, we're getting teleports as well. They're going to look to try to corral them afterwards and try to maybe even go for a mid-tier 1. Screen them away from mid, make it very difficult for them to walk through.
It connects on the Vampire. It's a flash away. Karis going to go forward as well with the Rune Prison. Does not find the lockdown, and Tian will be able to flash away from it. And so just some more utilizations of those summoner spells. Now WE trying to push their way forward onto this tier 1 to make sure it doesn't go down just yet, as Weibo have sent a lot of their resources there to the tier 1 turret. Dredgeline does connect on a Monki. Pops the E to try to block away some of the damage. This will certainly be the tower going down. Then can they look for more? There's the speed rush forward. Xiaohu and Tian combine for the kill onto the Pantheon. That's a big shutdown in the hands of the Nefiri.
Monki has been really on edge with trying to find where he's allowed to find the stun, where he isn't. He's been 50-50 so far in this matchup, but I mean, you're WE now. You've now lost control of your mid-tier 1. You're probably going to be losing top lane tier 1 as well. Sion is ulting for this, but can he? You got to drift around the wall. That's one. Can we hit York?
There's a knockup.
That's two.
Fully charged ultimate into a fully charged Q. Karis there to deal a little bit of extra damage. And WE get one right back onto the York. And they're right around the Otacon as it is just spawned. Looks like that will now be their target.
Oh, Pantheon can ult for this. I mean, Nico's probably in the area. They have Kaisa. They don't really care. Okay, WE. We are playing a spicy game here. Even with the gold as even as it is, they're just trying to stay on top of objectives here, and that'll grant them a voracious Otacon.
I love this right now here for Team WE. They're not even going to need the Pantheon to come in and secure it with a smite. That'll be Blood Roses galore for the underdogs here in this series, looking to pick up their second win overall in the Group Ascend stage. And as we get another look at this, it's just that Sion drifting away. I mean, I've done this a lot in solo queue. It's very fun to just lock somebody down 100-0. Had some help from Karis on the rise as well.
Just good stuff, and that I love how they immediately snap to go for the Otacon. There's no hesitation. There's no, hey, maybe like we kind of walk around the map, we take a top lane wave, and that's kind of it. They say, nope, we're just going to go ahead and start this objective. So clean play coming in from WE, and now again with the fact that they've now used this Rift Herald in mid, with how much wave clear they have access to between Ryze and this Kaisa, they are now starting up a second dragon as well. So this this game is remarkably close coming in, and you look at the score lines, you're like, okay, maybe that makes sense. You look at the names on these teams, this should be one-sided blowouts. I like the fact that we're seeing WE play the map.
And this is what I love to see here in the LPL. A team like WE being the underdogs and still putting up a fight, still making plays like we're seeing here on the top side of the map. Xiaohu is taking the turret after getting locked up by the decimating smash, and will be able to escape with his life. But yes, I mean, you think about teams, you know, we're from North America. Sometimes teams that are the underdogs that we see go up against some of the top level teams, they roll over a little bit, they die, they don't do too many things in terms of playmaking. But right now, that's not what WE's doing at all, as Airhog gets caught out once again, and Monki claims his 4th kill of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Monki and Vampire just decide, hey, let's keep the North American part of the show inside the casting booth. Vampire, however,
like
you know, maybe showing some love over to Busio from his early career, but
the support,
that ultimate is
maybe not doing that right now.
Maybe not. But for right now, it's going to be WE trying to get a little explosive on the map here. They were also able to get a turret on the bottom side. So despite there being a pretty massive CS differential between our two mid laners here, Karis is, for the most part, trying to do his part and playing on the side lane. I think if we didn't have these Blood Roses, he'd probably be a lot further down than he is right now. He is going to have also his Rod of Ages proc, so he's even actually with Xiaohu.
Yeah, it'll get to 14.5. That's one side of the map that right now is working well for Weibo Gaming, is Xiaohu on the mid lane. I guess he has stacked his row up first, so that's the discrepancy that I'm just noticing that we're seeing right there. But yeah, we have not seen too much of Xiaohu performing in terms of the later game teamfight portions of these games for Weibo. I feel like a lot of the times it's positioning issues, specifically on the rise. You know, I remember so many instances of him utilizing these realm warps the wrong way. We'll hopefully not see that here for somebody like Karis on the other side. But positioning here for Xiaohu is going to be very important, because if he stays alive, Weibo will have a chance in these 5v5 teamfights.
So we talked about how important our two junglers are going to be in this matchup. We've obviously touched upon our mid laners here. But so far this game feels like wherever the supports are, obviously that's been where a ton of our action has been. Erha so far has been getting caught out. I don't want to say it's that much different than what we had been seeing beforehand, but he is certainly, as this Nautilus, starting to get punished more and more. And we talk about supports. Vampire is now level 11, a second point in that Pop Blossom, a little bit more damage there, and definitely it kind of opens up some playbooks here for Team WE, who we're 24 minutes in. We got 9 kills between these two teams, and the gold is practically even. The Otacon went over to WE. They have 2 dragons. They have 5 grubs. If nameplates were off, we'd be talking about this as like WE are much more favored in this game, but obviously the underdog story, I think, coming in to fruition here, and their gameplay has not been quite clean, but Taeyoon's in an advantage, and we talked about scaling-wise. We're really happy with where this Rise is right now, so Weibo need to be creative. They needed to do something around Tian and Xiaohu, and we haven't quite seen that yet.
And this is where the chess pieces are going to start to fall a little bit here. The Baron's about to spawn. Vampire nearly getting caught up by Erha, as he's very far forward compared to where he maybe should be at this point in the game. But both of these teams actually have very good side laning compositions, or side laning champions in particular. You have the Yorick for Breathe, you have the Rise here for Karis, and even players like the Ahri and the Sion, they can match in the side
Monki, get out of there, brother.
Well, Monki, we're going a little bit far forward. He is able to use the Grand Starfall to escape. But now it's the chess game. Who can utilize the side lanes better? Who can get that extra turret? Who can get that extra wave? And who will make sure that they're not caught out in a disadvantageous position around a neutral objective?
Advantage immediately in my mind does go over to WE. Just having this Kaisa who can clear a lot quicker, especially with that static Shiv build, with the Nico between the two of them, they should just be deleting mid waves, and that makes it so much easier for Team WE to grab vision, move into the river or whatever side they want to play towards. I want to see WE, however, put a little bit more time and effort into trying to reinforce Karis. It seems like for what they're trying to do, Karis is mostly going to be spending a lot of his time moving from a side lane, going towards mid lane, covering for his team as they set up for an objective. And that's going to be the case here. 30 seconds before Dragon, WBG decide, hey, we're going to send all of our players, we're going to overload in mid lane just so that we can force priority and get ourselves vision all over this bottom side river.
It's fascinating that we're seeing Breathe on this Yorick, kind of just grouping with his team where he's not able to do too much, and we'll see if it ends up meaning anything, as in comes Cube with the Unstoppable Onslaught. It gets Feather Stormed away from, and so does the Pop Blossom, but Breathe is just dead before the fight even begins. It's a trade on the other side as Vampire's fallen. It's a 1-for-1 overall on the map. Taeyoon and Monki still full HP. Karis on the back line as well with double buffs on level 16. Here comes the re-engage potentially from Weibo Gaming. Here the ultimate is cancelled by the decimating smash of Cube. That means Tian has no way to get into the pit as the Dragon's been started up by Team WE.
Can Tian go for anything? I mean, maybe he can flash over the wall, find the smite steal, but between Cube, Karis is even waiting in the side
Cube
right here.
He might be taking a little bit too much damage. He has to flash away. Monki trying to land the stun. The Dragon's at 4,000 HP. Tian dashes back over the wall. Will he try to jump back in? No, it will be the Dragon secured here by Monki. And Team W secure it. There goes Taeyoon in with a killer instinct, forcing even more flashes off the board here for Weibo, as they will run away after losing just their top laner.
Team WE, maybe they just go for Baron. They have Rise, they have Kaisa. They're now on Soul Point, and Grips, they're about to win Game 1 versus Weibo, who are on a bounce back, in a honeymoon phase with their new support Erha. But here in this game, the 2v2 has been going great in the bottom lane, and Monki has been a standout player in this game number 1.
Not over just yet, though, as they're going to try to fight their way out. The Baron is secured by Team W, and the health bars are low on their side. Pop Blossom does not find its mark, as Tian's able to use it untargetable to get away. Xiaohu tries to find the charge, but Izani is away by Karis. Cube dashes in, but he's very, very low. They're going to try to 2v1 Tian and take the Nefiri down. It's a 2-for-0. Vampire lands the Tangle Barbs, lights at less than 100 HP. Will this be the fight? Taeyoon flashing forward, but he's going to get punished here by Breathe. In the pit they go. It's an all-out brawl in the top lane, and WE are winning it. They pick up the ace of only losing 1.
Oh my god, Monki's Pantheon, man. He was sliding all over that fight. I think Taeyoon maybe wishing he had his killer instinct back. You look at the fight, though, it's a full ace coming in for WE with 5 grubs and a Baron. How much of this base can they take? Long death timers here. Instead, they're going to take tier 2s in mid and top lane. And now the gold very firmly in Team WE's side.
Yeah, you say 6,500 gold. They pick up 2 of those inner turrets and will head back to base with a very nicely done Baron power play. At least so far. There's still 2 minutes left to go here on that one. And I want to take a look at how this fight was won by Team WE. Look at the health bars. Monki's at 40% and Taeyoon's at half, and they still end up winning this fight.
The start of this was a little questionable. I think we've seen throughout this game that trying to land Nico ult onto a Nefiri, not the best case. I think we got to see so many individual moments from players. Karis with that zone is buying time, and then Monki just in the back end of this fight, getting around the map, even using his ultimate to slide into the back of the pit. You know, I mean, Karis trying to zone on the other side. I feel bad for Light because he has been really focused in this game, not only from the early levels that we saw him with the gank, but he has unfortunately had a lot thrown at him and trying to stay relevant in this game. But as we can see, we're getting into dangerous spots where this Pantheon is untouchable with the Aegis assault.
Yeah, it becomes very hard to engage on him now that he also has a Guardian Angel. 6-1 and 4, Monki from minute 1 having a high impact on this game, and while it did not necessarily result into kills early in the game, forcing pressure away, and then finally those kills started to come through. Very, very nicely done here for the jungler of WE. He's trying to go up 1-0 in this series over Weibo. They go for the inhibitor towers now. That mid lane tier 3 has been cracked. There's also tier 2 in the bottom lane. Being broken open by Karis. WBG have to make a decision soon. What will Weibo do? Will they pull the trigger mid, or will they try and single out Karis on this rise? It looks like right now they're hovering, and they actually have enough wave clear so far to make sure that this inhibitor doesn't die just yet. However, here comes the re-engage, the retake of the area of the mid lane here for Team WE. They lock down Cube. Here comes the fight. Depth charge lands. It's onto 3 people. Vampire going forward. Finds Pop Blossom in onto Xiaohu. He uses the Spirit Rush to try to get away. And right now, Breathe is the first to fall. Already 2 for nothing. Soon to be 3. Xiaohu is down. The inhibitor's broken open. And Weibo are left wondering what the hell just happened. Team WE with a dismantling here of a tournament favorite here in the LPL. And they're going to take game 1 of this best of 3 series.
Well, look at that. You know, we came into this series, Grapes, so we're saying, okay, WE are probably going to make this go to 3. Was it going to be in the first game or the second game was going to be the question. We can already see they come out swinging in game number 1. Dominating performance. I think Monki immediately stands out as an MVP. Wasn't clean, wasn't perfect, but he got so much work done here. And it was off of early game decision-making from the jungler of WE. This is the kind of WE I want to see for the rest of the season. Playing fast, playing a little loose, and hey man, getting the job done.
Hey, they played their own game. They played their own style, and it worked out beautifully. That's what we love to see, even from some of our underdogs here in Group Ascend. The fact that WB are learning every single series, seemingly, how to continue to play their own game, play together as 5. You know, Monki just joining them here for the placement stages. This is not a lot of time that they spent with this 5-man unit, but now things are really starting to come together. Obviously, they took that stumble against IG, but then a 2-0 for ThunderTalk, and now up to match point against Weibo Gaming, who, frankly, we had a lot of expectations for entering 2025 as a whole, and maybe we started to see those coming into fruition with that win over JDG, but it still is not looking super consistent for our boys.
Look, I mean, you talk about their series, right? 2-1 over NIP. Even that one was a little tenuous at times. Their game 3 was a little bit more one-sided, but NIP have obviously shown that they're a team that is currently slipping. JDG, a team that is currently slipping at the moment. Maybe it was simply a strength of schedule issue, right? Like, you're playing up against the teams that are not necessarily doing as well currently, and WE, they had been stringing games along. They got 3 they went to 3 against BLG, and TES. For TES, maybe not too surprising, but those other 2 teams, I think it's fair to say that WE were definitely underdogs coming in and still ended up losing the series. But I think that 2-0 versus ThunderTalk, such an important win for them, just to remind them that they can close out series, that they can end up winning. And I want to note something for tonight, or for this week. WE are playing 4 best of 3s this entire weekend, almost already through 3 of them, right? They played against IG, they got 0-2'd. They against TT the very next day. They had a single day's break. They play tonight, and then they play tomorrow versus FPX.
I'm really excited for the FPX series, honestly. Both of these teams, not a ton of expectations for them coming in, but then, you know, being our 2 teams like that came through the play-in stage, going to see them matching up against each other finally to wrap up our first round robin will be a very fun sight for Team WE and for Team FPX, who, again, got off to that high momentum a little bit earlier, a little bit quicker than Team WE did. But both of them in much better spots than they were going into the start of the split. And now we're looking pretty good. And this is, again, not necessarily the expected result that we had, but given how WE have looked recently, it is a very promising sight to see and something I'm very encouraged by in terms of the level of competition that we have here in the LPL.
Yeah, for sure. Again, for Weibo, they have not always been the most bulletproof team, so not surprising to see them lose here. We had questions about their draft, right? Just, was the Ahri really the pick that was going to kind of get them over the line? They needed to play a fast early game, but didn't necessarily have it all there. Erha also kind of struggling in this game, but I think that was also true of Light as well. So kind of back to the drawing board, and we're still waiting to see what exactly this Yorick is able to do in a game, because while he is matching damage with Cube, I don't think I ever really want to see a Yorick match with Sion in terms of not only teamfight damage, but just effectiveness across the map. They weren't able to grab Grubs. We very rarely got to see a very long split push, and I think that was because of the fact that Weibo just very quickly lost priority around the map.
Yeah, so take a look here. Overall, the bot lanes did do well. I shout out to Taeyoon specifically for really popping off in some of those later team fights, but it was because of players like Monki, like Vampire, even Cube, setting up space for him in some of these 5v5s. You got to look at some of the highlights here. Again, it's WE willingness to go for plays. You know, this could have been a trade where you just get the dragon, you lose your top lane and sack that, maybe lose that turret, but they immediately came up to respond, and it ended up working really well for them.
I love what we got from Monki this game, man. Like, he's just walking around. He goes bottom lane after doing 3 camps just to prevent the bottom lane of Weibo from grabbing a wave. Then he just shows up mid, takes a summoner spell. They're playing on side lanes. I know we had some question marks about how they were doing it, but damn it, man, they did it. They were able to take a game here, and always talk about WE in the same manner, especially recently. It's cool they took a game, but can you close the series now? Obviously, we got some time in between the start of Game 2 here, but if you're Weibo, you're kind of looking, you're saying, okay, we got some pretty important champions away from Karis' champion pool here, taking both away the Ahri and the Rise, and if we saw anything from the draft, you're going to keep that Azir and Galio on the ban table.
Yeah, I mean, for Xiaohu, again, he got ahead in the lane. He got ahead early on, but wasn't able to do as much as we were hoping that he could do in some of these later game situations. Again, it's a little bit of positioning, a little bit of just team diff, I think, as well, as WB did a really good job playing around some of these neutral objectives. The fact that they won that fight still a little bit surprising to me personally, but yeah, just whether it's outplays for WE or misplays from Weibo Gaming, again, an unexpected result here in game number 1. And now we're left wondering, can WE do it? Remember, they've taken games off of some of the top level teams, but still their only win in Group Ascend in terms of series is Thunder Talk, which happened just very, very recently. So now is the question of, can they take that next step? Can they do it against a team that is considered to be in that top tier, that top pack? Obviously not the top tier, which is currently reserved for anyone's Legends and top esports, but in the group after that. Remember, they're tied for 4th right now in terms of series score at 3-3.
If WE, look, even if WE win this series, they'll be 9th. Maybe they actually move up, depending on how they do in this game, because they would have a very similar game score to NIP and Thunder Talk, who are both 2-5 and 2-6, but their differential is horrendous right now. It's -7. So NIP have at least a -4 there. Thank you to Monki for grabbing your MVP. Well deserved. Yeah, very, very well deserved, but they have a long road ahead of them if you are WE, if you want to be able to climb through the rest of these standings.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can do it. Again, just in terms of the stakes of winning games and bumping up in the standings, it is just to potentially improve your seeding for a team like WE in that best of 5. Maybe get a slightly easier opponent. You get an FPX instead of an NIP, or you get, you know, something along those lines. But I guess still a lot of season left to play, and if maybe there's an opportunity for them to continue to climb, getting that game score up will be big, and so we'll see if they can close out the sweep or if Weibo Gaming will be forcing that decisive game number 3 in our first series of the day here on LPL English. But before we head to a short break, we want to give a big thank you to all of you watching here at home. Specifically, we are extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pays on-air talent like ourselves and some of the content creators that are making shoulder content for us here on the show as well. You can subscribe to our Coffee. It is currently linked in the Twitch chat to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Once again, Team WE up 1-0 in this series. We'll see if Weibo can